Greetings, and salutations. So, um, in this video, we're going to discuss. I'm so frustrated with off-topic segue before the video starts. I'm so frustrated with Conan Exiles, and just how FunCom has managed their product IP of something of this magnitude and greatness. I'm a huge Conan fan, and with the Conan Unconquered, like that is the last time anybody posted something was like 2 weeks ago. Uh, and there's no traffic whatsoever. They need to push some patches out and bring that content up to speed. Bring it, do a DLC, a micro DLC, and get some more interest in that game, because that game is dead. It is completely dead. If I go to Steam and pull up Conan Unconquered, um, I'm willing to bet that has a player base of 200 or 300 people at this point, and it was just a quick cash grab. And the communication between, or maybe the contractual obligation that was developed between those two entities wasn't fleshed out the way that it was supposed to fleshed out, with follow through or feedback or support, because there's nothing going on here. Um, it is 13 replies, 100 views. This is super stagnant. And then back to my original topic, Conan Exiles. There's no they what they've done is they've pulled their Steam community forum and moved everything over to their FunCom forum, so that way they could disenfranchise themselves from Steam. And then when you look here on the forums, and you go through the forums, there's really no are very little participation from the actual developers. I mean, you have your volunteer, no paid community managers, who chime in with their social ideological views. But it's, as far as you get some of these, you get a decent amount of views, but it's so lackluster. If I were to go to Division 2 forums, or any other AAA titles, and I know Conan's not a AAA title, an idea that I had is I think it's time for Funcom to to move on. Because right now they're pretending to support the game, but they've almost completely stopped. I mean, this last patch is super broken. They're missing all kinds of pieces in the building piece, and they're trying to maintain this facade. But they hit like an all time low of 3,500 player base on Steam, and the game is pretty much dead. But they're trying to maintain. They're not. There's no. The lack of support is impacting the player base substantially. Um, and it's the thing is though is it's built in the Unreal Engine 4, and the Unreal Engine 4 has a 10-year shelf life easily, and it's early in its development cycle, because it came out about a year and a half ago. Conan actually was one of the first games that to hit the Unreal 4 engine, are to be implemented on the. So it could easily have a 10-year shelf life. You look at its competitors like Rust and Arc. They have a player base of 65,000 people. If they come out with a microtransaction for $1, they're gonna make $250,000 in a weekend off a dollar microtransaction, just because of their player base. And I just do not know why Funcom doesn't have the foresight to try to engineer their product in that manner, instead of just abandoning it and pulling all of its sources, because too much stuff is broken, and the stuff doesn't get fixed. And the development, 4 months to come out with a little Peasley ass $9 DLC is not acceptable, not acceptable. And I know I'm a super critic. But well, I think the solution is, you never want to criticize without coming up with solutions. I think the solution is they need to find a hungry development studio and come up with a 6 months contract, a short term contract, and push all of the development assets over to the um, the development studio who needs the work and who has the people, and then that way there's an inject in new fresh talent, new skill sets, new artists. There's a and in that 6 months contract, six micro mid-sized DLCs, something there's very focused in a development set. So uh, DLC that is just building pieces, a DLC that is just weapon sets, DLCs, and that way they can not spread their talent across all these platforms. And as they create some of these assets, they streamline and they become better and a higher quality because they're focusing just on a narrow scope of development. um, and I would start outsourcing. I would start otherwise you're gonna lose your game's gonna be dead. And even with this DLC, I've been watching the numbers. It got up to 6,500, but that's a drop in the bucket compared to the some of the previous DLCs, which got up to 15 or 20,000. So people know that the game that Funcom has pretty much abandoned the game, and they really need to start licensing the development process out to other hungry developers. Um, small six-man teams that have some skill sets in other games, because I've done a lot of comparison videos where like simple stuff like climbing ladders is subpar, and how building pieces don't line up, and you know so yeah, as always, let me know what you think. I'm trying to figure out a way I'm trying to find something to play is the challenge. I'm trying to find something that'll and I'm just there's some things that I'm just not interested, some genres that I'm just not interested in. Like I look at the survival submarine game and I'm like, but I'm not really into submarines, and it's there's very few genres that kind of pique my interest, and it's frustrated that I found something that I enjoy playing. I almost got 1,400 hours into Conan, but when you see the developers not continue to develop lackluster um, content and not support the game, and 4 month to 6 month turnaround time on content, and just a whole slew, not no community interaction on the forums. You realize that it could be better. It could be a lot better. They could be making a lot more money. They could have, they just got to get the right people in the right slots. And I realize that there's some challenges out there. I realize that, you know, um, like when their holiday thing hit and they just shut everything down for 6 weeks, that's not acceptable. They need to outsource those assets to a development team somewhere else, or have a different development team somewhere else. Um, Work on other assets so that way the game doesn't crawl down to a complete standstill. But I realize this video is kind of a little rant, but maybe somebody out there will watch it and be like, yeah, you know what? He's right. He's totally right. Maybe it'll through 6 points of connection, it'll make its way to the right ears, and they'll start taking a critical look at the overall health and well being of the game, and make some hard decisions and put some right people in in charge, and find a hungry development studio to even if they wanted to, maybe even a smaller approach, just find somebody looking for some work, um and piecemeal it out, pay by the work accomplished. I've come up with a couple, probably 5 or 6 different DLC ideas that could generate immediate money right now. Like soiled floors. If they just went through and did a micro $2 DLC called soiled floors and added like mud and gravel to a bunch of the floor sets, and then added like kind of like the ones they did for the sand, and then added snow to the black ice and snow to the Pictish, whatever. If it was cold, and that would be a way to identify. Um, that'd be a way to identify the what kind of building. If it's got snow on the ground, then it's meant to be developed for the snow. If it's got sand on the ground, it's meant to go in the sand, kind of thing. And so it's a way for you to kind of figure out where it belongs, kind of a visual representation. But there's so many changes that need to be made. I got 100 wish list videos, and some of them, like 90 of them, don't require any assets, and would greatly profoundly change the overall immersion and flow and playability and usability of the game. And it's not like it's game breakers, because a lot of those functionalities exist in other aspects of the game. Like, how come we can't lock pins? Why do we have to have an animal pin that's five five stalls? Why can't the small one be 2 stalls, the medium one be 3 stalls, and the large one be 5 stalls? Why do we just have to fight the placement of the animal pins? Why won't they add armor to the animals? Why do all the animals have 84 armor? And so all of that stuff just needs to be reworked, and they won't do it. And it's so vocal. So many people have posted stuff on the forums asking for these things, and it just none of it gets done. None of it gets done. And I realize, it's if they make these changes and it improves and if they refine it, then more people will play, and more people will play will invite their friends, and more friends play, then they invite their friends. And so, even if there are server issues with G Portal, or maybe at this point they want to let it die. Maybe that's the point. Is maybe they're trying to kill it off to get out of their contractual obligations to move on to another title, that they have a um, better contractual um, deal with, and they've learned all their hard lessons, and so their profit margins can be a lot tighter on the next project, instead of flushing this out where their profit margins are middle of the road. Maybe there's some behind the scene economic pieces that they just want to kill this thing off to get away from certain aspects, and that's plausible. I mean, that's plausible. That would actually make more sense to the the level of commitment. And right now they're just meeting their contractual obligations of 6 DLCs. And yeah, I would almost think maybe maybe I'm reading into it, but that's, talking this out and talking this through, that explains why there's no participation on the forums, why you can't get anything fixed, why they constantly release broken mechanics, why the AI is so jacked up, and ultimately the person who pays is the consumer. That's who suffers, is the consumer. The consumer is the one buying this stuff and then putting their time into it, and then on the facade it looks like it's a valid product, but there is a reason why Rust has a player base of 85,000 people. And if they drop a dollar DLC, they make $500,000. They make a $500,000 if they drop a dollar DLC. And it seems, it just, I know I'm kind of regurgitating some of my original thought process, but it seems like it would make no sense for them to structure and manage their stuff and tighten up their groups to facilitate and capitalize on that stuff, because Exiles is in the position to do that under the right management, under the right team development, under the right product development, and it's so not there. It's so not there. So, anyways, I realize this is kind of a rant, and this is critical thinking. And I'm trying to find something to play. I'm going to download Path of Exiles and play some Path of Exiles, I guess. But um, I'm tired of the AAA titles, and I like the survival genre. That has become my new MMO. I realize after MMOs, the 2,000 people on a server. um, I think 40 people on a server is a better 60, 70 people on a server is a better model to go. Plus the functionality of Unreal Engine 4 based off of some engine that is very sterile in feature sets to support the 1,000 people on that server. I just prefer the feature set that comes with the Unreal Engine 4. So I'm realizing that there's a genre that exists that that I like to play. And the reason why I don't play Ark is I don't really like dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are not my thing. And then Rust looks fascinating, and the gameplay is fascinating, but it's so brutal. It's so brutal. It's so brutal. I mean, it's hilarious too, but it's so brutal. Um, I was playing a little bit a couple weeks ago, and I was in my little hut, and somebody was knocking on the door, and it was some Indian guy with a heavy Indian accent, and you could tell he was just venting his life out on me. Like he's the 125 pound, Indian guy from, I don't know. It just was like, come out and play. And I was like, but so how come Conan doesn't have? How come they can't unscrew their uh their voice over IP? Why is it broken? Why is it broken? It used to work. Like there's so many things that they just do not have the talent. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why they don't outsource it. Why don't they just hire some people, or why don't they just, contract? That's a thing in Western culture, is to contract your work out. But I'm going to stop the video here. If you agree or disagree with anything, these are all meant to be podcasts, by the way. If you agree or disagree, please, please comment. Please comment. Be critical of what I'm saying. If you think I'm stupid, let me know. I'm okay with that. Thank you for watching.